It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. We intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
Good morning. What's up? Good morning. Welcome to Mic'd Up. Pardon me. For those who don't know, my name is mikagadsden. For those who don't know, you better ask somebody. What up, Meg? I don't know why. I just rushed to send out a newsletter. I think the newsletter's been effective. For those, I gotta start making sure I drop some links, some abbreviated links so folks can sign up for the newsletter. I don't promote it nearly enough. What up, Justin? Justin, I really enjoyed your podcast yesterday. It's one of my favorite new podcasts. What's up, Nicole? I missed you too. I hope the twins are having a good week, a happy week. I hope they're safe and healthy. What up, Denise? Good to see you in the chat. But yeah, I sent out a newsletter just a second ago. And I usually do it at 7, but it was like a last minute audible. I don't even want to reference football. My Giants lost last night in a dramatic finish. But anyway, the newsletters, I know I polled you all here informally. Some of y'all say y'all not getting newsletters, going to the spam. I don't know nothing about that. I don't know as much as I need to know about that. But thank you. I've been seeing people open and engage with the content within the newsletter. And so I'm very grateful. And so even though I'm going to lighten up here and there, so much toys. I can imagine. Oh, flashbacks of my young twindom with my brother. So many toys, some that we had to share. But yeah, people are really opening the newsletter and engaging with the content. And I think, I have to make sure that I remember I came from executive level management at big box retail, right? I got to remember, I understand consumer behavior. I understand people behavior, even though my followers are not consumers. I'm not asserting that. But I understand that sometimes you have to provide great customer service. Now, I believe that that's transferable. And so I believe that, good customer service and being as explicit and clear as possible is always helpful. But anyway, let's get into it. mikagadsden here. Shout out to everybody who joined Patreon this week. I'm specifically Crystal Rouse. You my sis, you my homie. I appreciate you. I won't probably lift up everybody's name. But I really do appreciate the support and the new patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much. The support, even if it's $1 a month, y'all don't understand. In the long run, it really adds up, and it helps me do things like pay for MailChimp. It helps me do things like pay for a lot of the software I use to edit content, to create content. It pays for. There's a lot of things you're looking at me through right now that costs money, and so it's not just going into my pocket, it's going right back into the content, and I really appreciate you. So when I switch screens again, you'll see, if you don't know anything about Patreon, you'll see the URL at the bottom of the screen once I switch. And also, again, newsletter. I'm going to start including it in the newsletter more regularly. All right, so I thought long and hard about what I want to talk about. I don't know if or when Honor Marks might join us today, but Honor Marks has just been an inspiration in terms of centering our schools and centering and look. Honor Marks has really, especially with that, the not so recent but not too distant piece that Honor Marks participated in or was featured in the Post and Courier not too long ago. Y'all remember that? Talking about that whole connection between some of the money with this booster club in North Charleston schools. But anyway, Honor has really inspired me to look deeper. And I thought about continuing that conversation today. But today I wanted to just kind of do something timely. I wanted to kind of just keep up with the headlines here. Yes, the ghetto-ass Murdaugh family. The ghetto-ass dynastic family is in the news again. It's almost as soon as I got off, there was breaking news regarding this ghetto-ass family, this powerful but ghetto-ass family. Normalize calling white trash ghetto. Hashtag normalize calling that kind of trash. Generational trash ghetto. So yeah, I'll touch on that a little bit and then transition. But things that caught my eye was, and this is I deliberate sometimes. I'm not quite sure if paying attention to or publicly acknowledging the local faction of hate groups is an effective strategy. Engaging their content, tracking their movements, and then disclosing what I've seen or what I've observed with you all. Sometimes I debate whether or not it's helpful, it's effective. Does it cause harm? Will it harm local movement work? Will it harm, me? Will it harm my family? So I debate and I think about it. But I will say that this weekend's action planned in DC and also planned locally throughout the country is something that we need to watch. And so as I included as a subject line in my newsletter, we just need to practice cautious vigilance. This is the thing. I really would love it. I would so adore it if there was a more vocal white-led watchdog group based here in South Carolina. There are some groups, that have been calling out the white nationalist factions that have been organizing within our school boards, organizing within our local electoral politics. There have been some voices, but just not enough and not loud enough, not consistent enough. And I would love it if there was a white-led, and I'm saying that specifically because white folks have to forfeit comfort and privilege and go out and walk out on that limb here and there, within reason. I know everyone has a certain level of risk they can take, right? But I would really love to see more well-intentioned white folk kind of go out there and not just always try to be passive actors in fighting white supremacy here, but actually be proactive in calling out some of the shenanigans. And so, good morning, Joni. And so it's important. So if no one's going to speak to it, I feel obligated to. And so some of y'all might know, some of you might not. There is a rally called Justice for J6 planned in DC. Good morning, kids. Good to see you early. I got a Joy Reid clip just for you, Kia, this morning. But yeah, there's a J6 or Justice for J6 rally planned in Washington, D.C. this weekend. A lot of some lawmakers have been poo-pooing it, but you poo-pooing it while you putting up a bunch of gates and chain links and putting all these law enforcement bodies on high alert. And the Justice for J6 rally is important to me, or it is noteworthy to me, because we've seen it in the past. Those who have participated in insurrection, men and women, reported as recently as this week, are walking around. Some are facing charges. Some are waiting for, I guess, sentencing. Some are just walking around here organizing, getting on live, getting in our faces on Daniel Island during a school board meeting, during a city council meeting. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there are people who are central to that organizing based here, and if they're not central to that organizing in DC, they echo the same sentiments, and they're organizing local efforts that mirror and reflect what will take place this weekend. From what the news has relayed, both national news outlets and some more local news, we know that there are folks intending to plan rallies locally. And so I just think we need to practice cautious vigilance. I think the time has come when we stop we stop being so cautious or apprehensive about calling out white supremacy. It shouldn't be my job as the Black cash poor Black woman. I shouldn't be the one condemning white supremacy, white nationalism. I know some of y'all was saying, well, Tamika, you kind of invite that. You kind of tell me who else is doing it. Tell me who else who can afford. Thank you so much, Nicole. You're so sweet. Tell me who else is going to do the same thing. Like, tell me who else is doing it. And maybe there's an argument to be said, like, oh, okay, well, if you ignore it, it'll go away. That's not how white supremacy. That's not how it works. That's how it worked. That's how we got Dylan Roof. You feel me? And I'm not using that in a way to diminish the tragedy associated or perpetuated by Dylan Roof. I'm saying that's how we got Dylan Roof, essentially, is when you keep turning, that's just, ain't nobody listening. That's old cornpone Larry over there. He been saying that since the 80s. We don't need to worry about Larry. Larry's always had that Confederate flag, and yeah, I saw the hood in his house. I mean, but it's just, he says it's collectibles. I don't, the more you keep rationalizing the kind of everyday, I hate saying casual racism because it's not casual. It's not like you wearing fucking sneakers while you doing it. But like, but the more you kind of just like normalize white supremacy and just kind of like, oh, well, that's just the culture, that's just the values, the more pervasive it becomes. You cannot, I don't even want to butcher any amazing quotes from our from civil rights leaders, but that ain't how you stop hate, right? At all, right? Oh my God. So hold on one second. Boom. Got it. Bam. All right. So yeah, Kia, you just dropped in the chat. And again, thank you so much, Nicole. You are awesome. I feel like one of your twins now. I got gifts. Key, you said you love it. Proud Boy said that they aren't coming. Wow. Like good and bye, right? And this is the thing. Okay, so, and I'm gonna get to it. Let me just switch screens. Let me just get to it. I don't want to filibuster too much. Oh, like I don't want to just kind of keep like sounding like I'm on a sermon. Like I'm speaking a sermon. But good morning, everybody. But let me just get to the local roundup. No weather today. Looks overcast. No weather today, but seriously, watch out. The rain and the flooding this weekend. Please watch out for that. I think the flooding, there's some coastal flooding concerns that we need to keep an eye on. I think that that's something I will say. So this is the front page of the state newspaper, and we're gonna get back to what I just said about this faction, cause it's important. All right. So this is the front page of today's paper. Like I said, the Murdaugh dynasty is the gift that keeps on giving to people who are very much interested in this really wacky, zany family, I don't know, spiral. And maybe it's not wacky and zany. I don't want to. I have to remember what I articulated yesterday. This family is at the center of not one, not two, not three, not four. Maybe even I couldn't countless murders. I don't know, murders or controversies, and so it's something not to take lightly. But the fact that Alex Murdaugh can stage a insurance fraud suicide thing and then be out, released on his own personal recognizance bond. Like, it just two Americas. So that's the reason why this story is so uninteresting to me. It's just white power, privilege, and extreme wealth is always going to be okay. And who's not okay are the victims of this family, the family's victims. And so, but we'll get into that. We'll watch a couple clips and shit like that. All right, you scroll down. South Carolina reaches 50% vaccinated amid COVID surge, which is important. All right, again, this is the state newspaper. Let me see at the tippy top. Okay, so I'm gonna now. This is the Post and Courier front page. Again, Murdaugh gets top billing. Murdaugh surrenders an alleged suicide plot. Looks way different from the pictures I've been using. He looks way more, I guess, slight. Like he lost a lot of weight. That's not a compliment. It's just an observation. But also at the front page, you have nurses say staffing crisis could hurt care. I have a close friend who is a registered nurse. I believe she has her master's. Yes, she does. Has her master's in nursing. And she was telling me in recent conversations and on a recent trip, she was telling me about the nursing shortage. And I've just been hearing that nonstop. I heard it again on NPR yesterday. Nonstop nursing shortage. Again, and also the Post and Courier. So the Post and Courier looks a lot like the state newspaper. Murdaugh coverage, COVID-19 vaccination coverage on the state, and the same thing here, Murdaugh coverage. But as you can see, the Post and Courier is choosing to focus on the Murdaugh scandal a little more heavily. And then you have Afghan refugees in Charleston and in upstate. Again, the vaccination levels and whatnot. Okay, so that's the front page. You might flip through here a little bit, might not. Let's get to, let me close this out. Let's get to some other things that were on my mind too. So actually I'm gonna do this. So Alan Wilson, he was up to no good yesterday as well, joined this 24 state coalition against common sense safety protocols to help us navigate this pandemic. This is something that slipped by me yesterday. Carl Brady from the city council, who voted against the mask ordinance, he had a reason. He provided some context. He provided some rationale behind his no vote, even though his wife is a physical therapist at MUSC and is on the front lines and is seeing this pandemic in real time. And it's just really interesting to hear in his justification on his no vote, hear him kind of like, you could kind of smell the gears grinding. You can kind of hear it when you read it, like he's trying to rationalize an irrational decision. But essentially, again, he did what was politically expedient. I'm hearing a lot of commotion in my hallway out here. Oh no, it's upstairs. He did what was politically expedient. He didn't move in the spirit of courage or common sense, right? After having Dr. Sweat and countless other healthcare professionals literally provide you with the information on how to combat this pandemic, and after countless days of coverage from local newspapers and local, national, state newspapers, Carl just had to kind of come up with some sort of justification. We need better elected officials, y'all. We need better elected officials. You gotta come up with something better than, I know it's really bad. My wife sees it every day, but I want to keep my job, right? I did yesterday a few days ago. What day was this? It doesn't have a date. But I think a couple days ago, I sent this to Anna Marks, but this was a 1A. I know I talked about 1A podcast. We listened to a 1A podcast yesterday regarding the popularity of true crime podcasts. But this episode was actually illuminating because it talks about how previous historical battles over schools and school boards and elections, how it mimics and mirrors what happened. I said that already, but it's mimic. What we're seeing now is just another iteration of an older strategy. And so I wanted to play like the last 4 minutes of this podcast because I thought it was very enlightening, and it actually coincides with today's topic. Let me go back to the chat real quick and start reading how y'all responded to the headlines. The headlines that I just read, the local headlines. Nicole, let me see. Oh, no twins. I don't know why I thought twins. I don't know why. Sorry about that. I was kind of hesitant too. I'm sorry. I don't know why I projected twins onto you. I don't know. Thank you for correcting me. Sorry. 3, 5. God. Woo, girl. 3, 5, and 9. I don't know where I got twins from. Okay. Oh, that's what it was. That's what got me. The birthdays were close together. Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Joni, you responded to the only 50% vaccinated is ridiculous. I'm telling you, and we're gonna touch on some of these local pediatric ICU cases. We're gonna touch on that. Yeah. Oh, you purchased the Charleston syllabus? Oh, that's so. Oh yeah, Nicole, you got it. Oh, Nicole, you a real one. Thank you so much for everything you do, Nicole. Seriously. Yeah, Joni, you said you don't understand the end game. I don't understand it either. Yeah, they want to die on that hill, like literally want to die on that hill, right? Right. After Well, I guess you meant Tuesday, Kia. After Tuesday finally hit you how horrible our city council really is. Yeah, and I think, and it's hard to really stay engaged. A lot of what happens on city council is not always fun, titillating, exciting. There's a lot of things that I just can't even grasp, and I think more people need to be honest about things that they don't understand. Even some of the rules of how they motion things or how they come to conclusions about things is still sometimes is needlessly labyrinthian. I don't know. I'm trying to, like, it's just, to me, it's just such a very, very arduous process. And so it really does stifle engagement and interaction with your local government, because the process is so full with so much bureaucratic red tape and whatnot. But I will say, when you tune in, and even if you give it 20 good minutes, you'll start seeing how you start being able to assess the performance of your elected officials. And some show up and do the right thing. Some of my least favorite do the right thing sometimes, and I acknowledge it. Sometimes they stay on brand. Right? What up, Charlie the Brit? It's so old-fashioned, archaic. I think that's the word I'm looking for too. Old-fashioned is a great phrase. Thank you. Justin, you said, I can't imagine voting against a mask mandate, knowing what, and you have almost a similar position to Carl Brady, right? Knowing what you're saying, knowing what your wife and her colleagues are dealing with, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Nicole, you says, imagine saying you wanted to make things equitable here in Charleston and then get together a group that does not work for free. Come on, off the ropes. Yes. And that was the thing. The hypocrisy is not the word, right? It's that thing that when I go at local nonprofits, it's the very thing that I get at them for. It's your professed values versus what you practice. So don't tell me you love Black lives. Don't put up a black square. Don't wear dashiki, Mayor Tecklenburg. Don't start squeeze out a tear at the base of the Calhoun Monument. Don't invite all the cameras in the press and everybody to Marion Square when the Calhoun Monument's coming down, just to turn around and say, you know what, I'm not going to support this commission. I'm not going to hold a special meeting like I gave Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds. I'm not going to exhaust every measure, use every tool at my disposal to advance an effort that I like. Don't do that. Don't turn around and I really do feel for Amber, whether she knows, acknowledges, or agrees with me or not. The way I see it, it's not personal. I'm not saying that they're attacking her personally, but she is just the latest. She's the latest example of, hey, we want to hire someone for this position. We found this amazing person with these amazing credentials, this amazing education background, right? We want to bring her in to do this really tough job and navigate this really difficult landscape here, right? In a city that's so complicated and controversial. We're going to bring you in, bring in the best and the brightest that we could find. And you're going to, undermine her effort, her work, and the integrity of that office by not giving her the full complement of support that you could have given her. And that also doesn't just stop at the mayor. That extends to city council members who were extraordinarily dishonest with their level of support of the commission, dishonest in trying to say, hey, I like it, but it's just a little too intense. You weren't a fan of that commission from jump. And so you tried to act like you walking the fence, and it was a difficult decision. It wasn't, because you never engaged with it in a meaningful way. And again, the city never gave or threw the full complement of any resources. The amount of resources they give to the police force and the amount of dictates that they follow from CVB, right? That's their value systems. An oppressive law enforcement that's corrupt and scandalous, that's proven to be corrupt and scandalous several times over in the last year alone, right? Racially biased police force. You've empowered a racially biased police force right? And you've given that person, you've given that department and that leadership, Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds, you've given them so much support, but yet I haven't seen that really reflected with any arts and culture initiative, any history and culture initiatives. The Emancipation Day Parade is raggedy. How you treated Amber, again, my opinion, not hers. How you treated Amber in that office and the work that office was in charge of was raggedy as well. It's just not, you got us out here working for free. The optics, and they don't get that. Really, really bad politicians who are just not effective. All right. So I got this up again. We're going to get to this because what happened in 1974 in Charleston, West Virginia, is eerily reminiscent or eerily similar to what we're seeing here at our local school board meetings. Let me see. Did I close out? Let me try to get this one. I think my neighbor upstairs is doing aerobics. It's like that commercial, that is it a Geico commercial where it's like we got a clogging problem. they are tie-boning it up above me, baby. Woo. They are tie-boning it up. Let me see if I put it up here. Yeah. So shout out to D. I don't know if D's watching today. I'll download it. D sent me a oh no. Wait, what's that? Cancel. Let me see something. D sent me D sent me a picture. I don't know what. Let me see if there's a date on it. I don't see a date. I see a date. They're citing dates here, but this ad was in the paper. This was in the paper regarding like stopping. This was in the paper, I think probably before city council, right? And so this was some extremist language. They're calling people who are fighting for equity and inclusion extremists, but they demonize the commission. This is what Ross and Carl and Sheely and Shade and Harry, this is their value systems here, listening to this extremist faction that's literally organizing with white nationalists, but whatever. All right, the Commission on Equity and Inclusion, a racial conciliation, which ironically has made extremely divisive and non-inclusive policy recommendations as critical race theory. There's no critical race theory in our school. We the language is there, but it's not implementing anything. There's nothing Marxist. Alicia Garza has nothing to do with the cop killer. That's interesting. Taking all this extremist language, right? And I don't even want to elevate this too much, but this is in the paper, and I'm sure some of y'all have encountered this in publications. And what we need to do is, this is where the cautious vigilance comes into. We need to make sure, because this is just like the left. Like I'm trying to not demonize or confuse people. But I gave a lot of time this week to talking about how the left is funded and how that's not a conspiracy theory, how that's very real, right? And so, and I'm training you all to just think critically and observe things. So you'll see, and we know this American Heritage Association and other types of names that sound patriotic, we've seen them pop up all over here locally on Facebook groups. So this is a group to watch out for. So whenever you hear, this is, again, practice that cautious vigilance. I'm not asking you to go and do a deep dive. I'm not asking you to write them letters to this P.O. box, right? I'm not asking you to do that. I'm telling you to watch out. When you see American Heritage Association, don't just think, oh, this must be some sort of innocuous group, or some kind of think tank. No, this is a group that has an agenda, and it's important that you know that, and you just file it away, tuck it away. And then, especially to my white followers and white listeners and viewers, you have to, at some point, if you think that just watching me calling city council, that's great. I want you to do that. Watch me share content, echo what I'm saying, become a patron. That's all cool. But what I really get excited about is when I see y'all out there using your privilege to really find these really subversive ways to combat this type of white nationalism that's parading as respectable organizing, right? I really like for you guys to kind of just dissect some of this stuff. And start exposing it for what it really is, and that's more effective than just Mika with her hair on fire. Talking about things. They actually citing the Washington Post and they're citing the New York Post and the Washington Examiner. That tells you everything you need to know. Both trash publications. But shout out again, D. Thank you so much, D, for sharing that. Yeah, what is it's just it's the same group, Kia, but it's the same type of groups that are behind. Let me show y'all my thumbnail if you didn't get the newsletter this morning. The thumbnail for today's video. This is today's thumbnail, right? I called it a white nationalist hot mess. I was inspired by Nickelodeon. I added the slime. I kind of also wanted to obscure some of the details. So that was intentional, like the group. So the group that's associated, we're going to get into it, so it's okay. Look Ahead America. So Look Ahead America, the American for this and that, patriotic flag wavers of the United States, all these different types of patriotic themes, is something we have to look deeper and look closely at. And so, it's just all these different groups just have different names, and it's so weird. Like even in that newspaper clipping, they talk about cop killers. Y'all literally killed cops on January 6th. You literally killed cops and tried to kill more cops. Like, you literally killed cops. And it's also amazing how they're taking language from the 60s, from black revolutionaries, from black revolution, like black revolutionaries like the Black Panther, and using that language of political prisoners and all that other stuff. They're taking a lot. They're cherry picking now. They're picking and choosing a lot of the tactics and language used during civil rights protests and also Black Power, the Black Power movement. They're adopting. It's so weird how you would demonize Alicia Garza and then turn around and characterize yourselves as slime, characterize yourself as some sort of like political prisoner. Like, it's crazy how you will lift up. It's bananas. So anyway, it's a hot mess. I will say this is why I said cautious vigilance. I am not being an alarmist. I'm not asking y'all to run out there and root out this group. But what I'm trying to tell you is that listen to the language, listen to the themes, watch the themes, observe certain movements, certain groups as they start to adopt this language that we're hearing from these groups. Sometimes folks ain't good with dog whistles. And I get it. That's the whole point of a dog whistle, right? It's supposed to be subtle. Sometimes it ain't no dog whistle. Sometimes it's a bullhorn, and people still choose to kind of, well, it doesn't seem that bad because they're, right? And it's important for us to kind of to look closely at their movement and how they're choosing to organize around these issues. Let's hop to barf. Exactly. I wanted to barf all over it. So much Nickelodeon vibes in my DNA. So yeah, again, I wanted to hit up the local headlines as it pertains to COVID in our region. Wanted to talk about the Murdaugh, get that out the way. We talked about them enough yesterday. I mean, look at this. WCBD sent their primetime head male anchor, because Carolyn Murray's also part of that duo. Sent old boy down there and Riley Bean down there to deal with that Michigas. Let me see where I want to start. I feel like I earmarked. I feel like I set this stuff up. Ooh, I had to watch this. Ugh, I don't like giving them clicks, but I had to. Hold on, let me get to local, and then we'll broaden out and we'll get to the hot nationalist mess that's planned for this weekend. Let's go ahead and just talk about CCSD.
Starting Monday, all Charleston County District schools will require face masks until at least October 15th. District leaders say this new requirement is to help with the surge of COVID-19.
Real quick. COVID-19 starting Monday, kids will be required. We know that the school board just moved on this, and so we're seeing this is going to play out next week. We're going to see a lot of stuff, y'all, next week. Justin, you dropped in the chat to Kia's answering Kia. It's another foundation funded by the Koch brothers to undermine trust in public institutions. Look at Justin. Undermine. Justin, what you have for breakfast? Pancakes, eggs, grits, oatmeal. Carnation instant breakfast. My mom used to make us drink that. All right, no, but Koch brothers to undermine trust in public institutions and ultimately privatize them. And this is why, and this is no shade to my girl, friend of the show, friend of the live stream, Allie. We talked about Allie's work, her legal work. But when Allie sat up there with Nancy Mace and that Koch brothers, run fund or foundation, you give credibility to their bullshit. So people who are purported allies of social justice work and social justice grassroots organizing, we can't afford to give those factions credibility. And so, and you know, I keep messing up her acronym, SCJC. Keep me honest, y'all know what I'm talking about. But you know, when the ACLU and that group was up there, I'm like, yo, what are we doing? That's you hustling backwards. Don't give this organization credibility, because all they're doing is sowing seeds of confusion, disinformation, and public and have you distrust your government. And we can't really afford for that to happen. Yep.
19 cases.
Let me rewind this because I talked all over Carolyn. I stopped it abruptly.
Starting Monday, all Charleston County District schools will require face masks until at least October 15th. District leaders say this new requirement is to help with the surge of COVID-19 cases they've seen since the beginning of the school year. As the state's current budget proviso prohibits mask mandates in any state-funded school, CCSD leaders say they are implementing this new requirement with other budget funds that would not impact funding. District officials say they are enforcing this policy without using money that's granted to them through the state. The Charleston County School District will allow parents who request their child be exempt from the policy to get virtual instruction until the requirement is in place.
Okay.
We have stated numerous times that the board's collective opinion is that wearing face masks in school is one essential health and safety measure that we can put in.
That's how Eric Mack used to go to my church on Wamala. He used to be part of the clergy at my church when I was growing up. I don't think I talk about that enough. Reverend Eric Mack, he works at MUSC now. Shout out to my secret squirrel. I mean, that's not secret, but I just didn't pay attention.
In place. Part of our responsibility is to do all we can to help prevent severe illness or death.
What's up, Kelly Ray?
Board Chair Reverend Dr. Eric Mack says those who refuse to wear a face mask at school will not be allowed in classes with students and staff wearing them, except for those with religious and medical exemptions.
And we've seen how that's playing out in places like Florida. People are running to chiropractors and all kinds of nuttiness, trying to get these exemptions. I don't know how a chiropractor can write an exemption for you. And no shade to people who practice that type of care, health care. Notice how I didn't say medicine. Sorry, no shade, but I just don't get it. All right, so I wanted to keep it with COVID first, because I think the local stories on how COVID is impacting our youth, specifically the pediatric ICU units here locally, I think it's an important thing to follow and to observe. And then we'll hop into Carl Brady's asinine rationalizing of why he voted no against the mask ordinance, even though he has a wife that works on the front lines.
Family. Vaccine hesitancy for one family nearly cost them their lives. Now a teenager who is still recovering from the virus is working alongside his family to inspire other families to get vaccinated against COVID-19. News 2's Kate Prestak heard from that father and son and the physician treating them about how they are responding to the latest developments.
Christian Davila, a 17-year-old from Little River, South Carolina, began his fight against COVID-19 nearly a month ago. Now he says he's speaking out in hopes more get vaccinated and don't end up like him in the hospital. Doctors say this has been the hardest week in the pandemic for children with COVID-19. Across the state today,
let me just rewind what Kate Prestak just said. Let me just rewind it. Just right here. And if I can hit
hospital.
This right
Doctors
here.
say this has been the hardest week in the pandemic for children with COVID-19. Across the state today, 36 children are hospitalized with COVID-19,
36.
16 are in the ICU, and 6 are on a ventilator.
Damn.
Doctors at MUSC attribute the increase to
Hey,
parents
Honor.
and children of age not getting vaccinated. Christian Davila has been to 3 hospitals in the last month and even on a ventilator. While he's recovering slowly, he and his family are hoping more take a shot at safety.
You know, when this first came out, I thought it was a joke. I'm not gonna lie, I really did. You know, I thought just, you know, the flu symptom, you know, media hype, everybody trying to get medicine forced into people. But after I had seen firsthand what this virus
Like
can
2
do,
years in.
what
Okay.
it's still doing, the vaccination, you know, it may not cure it.
It's not a
but it will
cure.
at least slow down the serious symptoms.
To Nicki Minaj and other people, like, the vaccine is not a cure. The vaccine was never positioned as a cure. The vaccine was never positioned as a cure. The vaccine was never positioned as a cure. It was never promoted. It was never put out there. No one told y'all there was a cure at all. At all. No one said that. It's just crazy, and I do have sympathy for this family. It's just frustrating to hear people still like thinking that, oh, it ain't a cure. See, you got COVID and you got the vaccine. Duh. Like, put the mask over your nose.
Christian says he expects to remain in physical.
Oh, they cut her story off. They clipped off the end of it, rather. Okay, so now let's hop over to Carl Brady. And again, this fell below my radar, but I just did like a Google search on City Council, and then this popped up. Again, this is shout out to WCIV again. Just keep in mind, it's a Sinclair station. So just know why you watch. But the local coverage tends to be outside of their must runs and other things like that. And some really reprehensible reporters that I encountered from them a year or two ago. Outside of that, I mean, some really like trolling me on, like a reporter trolling me on Twitter, like real bad. She's no longer there, but outside of those things that really erupted while Trump was in office, local coverage from WCIV has been pretty good when it comes to local coverage of the pandemic. Let's try to get to it. Let's see. Ads are killing me. Mute. Play. Okay.
Reading of a mask mandate in Charleston. We're on the heels of City Council passing the first reading of a mask mandate in Charleston. We're now hearing from one of the 3 council members who voted against the mandate.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Kelly Ray.
ABC's News 4's Sean Mahoney is working for you tonight and has more on why the councilman voted no, despite a relationship with a frontline worker.
For many council members, last night's reading was a big step to keep residents safe.
Public safety is the #1 responsibility of local government, and I think we covered some really important issues that needed to be addressed.
One of the 3 against it was Carl Brady, a man with a unique connection to the people on the forefront of this issue.
Having a spouse that works in the front lines in healthcare, obviously I hear her day to day on what's going on.
Brady's wife, Kate, is a physical therapist for MUSC and has worked in the ICU over the pandemic, something Brady experiences every day.
Sometimes, your boyfriend or your husband is the kind of partner that will make sure that everybody at your job knows that you are a good one. Sometimes you lucky enough, anyone, regardless of how you identify gender-wise, sometimes you got a partner that does things like send you some bouquets to work so you can stunt on your coworkers, or they'll pick you up in a real fancy car, you know what I mean? Or you get a new handbag for whatever holiday. You ever had one of those partners that really like make people at work think that you got, Prince Charming? And then you got some partners out here that take their ass to City Council, knowing that you risk your life working on the front lines. You're masked up, you're shielded, you're wearing all types of PPE. And then you got to turn on the news in the break room or turn on the room in the lobby and see your husband vote against the best interests of your colleagues and the patients inside that motherfucking hospital. So, it's just, some partners do better at making you feel good at work. Sometimes then you got to go to work and hang your head low Use your maiden name. Isn't that your husband? No. Is that him? Oh, I think, yeah. I missed it. The commercial came on. I missed it. Was that him? Oh, you sure?
I know the pressures that they're all under, her and her team, and the broader kind of medical community. And it's tough out there. I mean, it's
tough
really
out there.
Tough.
However, despite his spouse's occupation,
it's deadly out there. It's not tough out there. Tough is having a bad strain of the flu, or what was that Charleston strain of gonorrhea that was running around a couple years ago? That's tough. This is deadly. This is fatal.
Says that his decision last night was taking into account his constituents' views as well.
I think it gets down to, what's in the best interest of the community,
which can be hard to balance sometimes.
If I was a troll at work where she worked, I would call her over the loud system every day. Mrs. Carl Brady, Mrs. Vote No on mask ordinances. Carl Brady, you're needed. Code Blue, you're needed in room 106. Mrs. Carl Brady, whose husband just voted no.
I mean, it's not easy. I take what I hear from her, but I also have my constituents that I have to kind of weigh their views as well.
But he says that's why he loves his job.
I think that's honestly why we have the privilege of serving in elected office, is that people elect us for our decision making and weighing competing interests.
The competing interest, a concern for the mandate with schools.
All of those jurisdictions, they can implement mask mandates within their own jurisdictions.
A crucial part for others.
I think that this ordinance to address schools is going to have a huge impact because we're dealing with young people.
For Brady, with all the different viewpoints he has, he said that if the schools were taken out of the mandate, his decision is still uncertain.
And
I kind of different variables,
Evelyn
but I haven't
woke
made up my mind one way or the other.
Working for you, Sean Mahoney, ABC News 4.
What's in your cup, Evelyn? Is that Folgers? What? Mrs. Carl, yeah, exactly. Every time your man, we at work and we got the TV on in the lobby of the hospital, and every time your husband make the news, it's for some kind of fuckery. I'd be like, what? Wood chipper. Oh, you cranky? Oh my God, I sympathize with you. A real story. When I first moved to and y'all probably gonna start piecing together like, you lived on Wamala but you went to school in Charleston. Yep. But anyway, I lived on Wamala, of course. When I moved to Wamala in the 10th grade, I was pleasantly acquainted with a cock's crow, the rooster's crow, every morning. That was the most like, oh my God, I could not sleep. Somebody like next door had a freaking rooster. It was crazy. That would make me cranky too. Anyway, on all seriousness, his rationale was so flimsy. And he's like, I love when, I don't know where he learned that thing, where they do, sometimes when a politician doesn't have a good answer, they say things like, that's what I love about democracy. We honor different opinions. Shut the fuck up. That's such a cornball canned answer. That's what I love about my job. We get to have different points of views and represent. Shut up. You going against science. And shout out to the reporter, real talk real quick. Shout out to the reporter who picked up on that disconnect between, hey, doesn't your wife work on the front lines and you voted no? Can you tell us more about that? Shout out to that reporter who followed that trail, who pulled that thread from that sweater, because that was actually good to see that hypocrisy, see that contradiction. And I'm being very serious. Like, it's really important to see that in real time, right? Yeah. Yup. Right at I see you, Justin. Yeah. Yeah. Ladies, make sure your husband don't make you embarrassed at work, please. Please. Shoot. That'd be like me being an activist in the South and having a spouse that worked for NYPD. Evelyn, you got the joke. All right. So, all right, here we go. So switching from the local COVID response, I think, I'm gonna make sure WLTX didn't have anything specific to, the 50% vaccination rate is very important. It's important. Let me see. I wanted to get WLTX's coverage, not Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Well, maybe I didn't take a look at it. Oh, the nurse shortage. So this was on the front page again. Which paper had it up here? Was it the state newspaper? It was Post and Courier. Yeah, nurse. Right here. Nurses say staffing crisis could hurt care. MUSC group nurses leaving in droves. Cry for help unanswered. Right, and keep that in mind as your local city council votes against masking and other common sense protocols that help keep people safe. Right. So there's a shortage here. WLTX talked about the nurse shortage with the scariest CPR doll.
Anakin.
The scariest. I don't know what this is. Oh my God. I don't know why that's in the story. It's literally
College of Nursing at USC is using a high-tech simulation lab to give students hands-on experience.
Yeah, they look so real. I promise you'll be doing a double take. But the latest technology is helping universities address South Carolina's nursing shortage.
Wait, the doll is helping? Not the doll. Wait. Wait, y'all. Hold on. Okay.
Looks so real. I promise you'll be doing a double take. But the latest technology is helping
It don't look
universities
real.
address South Carolina's nursing shortage and health care for at-risk communities. News 19's Julia Kaufman has the details.
Mannequins like this one help nursing students practice real-world medicine before heading to hospitals.
We can do pulse, blood pressure, respirations.
Hey, look at that one. Look at the one in the back. Look at Annabelle.
Practice.
Look at Annabelle in the back. Wait, it's supposed to be a series. I did not watch it, y'all. I did not watch it before. I can't, other than like looking at the doll. I'm not trying to make this funny. I really wanted to talk about the nursing shortage. I'm so trying to be serious. What's going on? What's going on?
Like urinary catheters on, and
Really?
it's really cool.
Brianna Mackerlane is a junior at USC's College of Nursing. She says the simulation lab will prepare her for clinicals.
It's a lot more practice. It's a lot more, if we make a mistake, we know, at least it's not on a real person. We know what to do, and we know to learn from that mistake and what not to do next time.
The lab's director, Dr. Crystal Murillo, says because of simulation, students still progressed while they weren't allowed in hospitals due to COVID-19.
Simulation was the solution for us to move our students forward
If his eyes
during the
move, I'm a
pandemic.
fucking.
This helps the nurse shortage because
clip.
more students will graduate ready to help real patients, says Murillo, since they get more hands-on experience during the pandemic. On top of mannequins, they also have people come in to act as patients.
We have not or will not see a decrease in our number of graduates because of what is happening with COVID and their inability to, during the 2020 year, go to their traditional clinical experiences.
It did blink, didn't it?
USC's lab was one of 5 in the nation to recently get a $500,000 grant to enhance lessons on the social and cultural effects of healthcare.
These are the first mannequins of color to arrive into our center, SIM Center.
Welcome.
And in terms of programs of nursing, these are the first to arrive in a standalone
Oh, it
program.
did blink. I thought it blinked. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be able to get through it. It's the first mannequins of color.
Of nursing in the state. So really excited for this. It goes beyond representation, but it does start with representation being so important.
One mannequin, Murillo says, can cost $110,000 to $150,000. The grant will also fund courses that focus on helping patients in at-risk populations and those of various religious and cultural backgrounds. In Columbia, Julia Kaufman, News 19.
It's giving me. It's just, I have to take a break. Hold up. To respond to. I'm sorry, y'all. I just think that blinking thing was just killing me. I'm all right. All right, let's get back.
College of Nursing at USC is using a...
No. We're good on that. Okay, so let's transition. Let's transition to other news. I'm sorry. All right. This news right here. Let's just get into it. No. This is a long procedure. This is a long clip. We just taking a look at. This is Daddy Murdaugh coming in. Lots of fans, like lots of press. So many national outlets here. So many local outlets now sending people down to Hampton County to cover it. This is
New developments tonight.
This is WCNC. This is Charlotte-based news. But I wanted to look at a Brown anchor. So
in the ongoing drama surrounding a prominent South Carolina attorney, Alex Murdaugh,
D.
officially in police custody.
Good morning, DD. New York Times been on it consistently. Yep. See, look at the Evelyn. You got it. Jinx.
These are live pictures from his bond hearing this afternoon. He is being charged with insurance fraud following a scheme where he tried to hire a man to kill him. Police say it was all so that his son could collect a $10 million life insurance policy. Murdaugh.
So as Dick Harpootlian was leaving leaving this, I guess, this proceeding yesterday, a lot of reporters were shouting like, well, did the mother and the son have life insurance? Because if you are trying to kill you, if you were trying to orchestrate some sort of fraud for you, it was that the motive behind what happened with the wife and the son. And Dick Harpootlian just kept saying there was no insurance. There was no insurance. I hope the press corps researches that and really does like their due diligence to see if that could, because it sounds like this dude was stealing money. It sounded like he was hemorrhaging cash, in debt. And if you're trying to stage your own death, I find it hard. I don't know. Do wealthy people who have this much wealth, do they have life insurance policies, or do they have, I don't know. I really don't know this answer. Or do they, because sometimes I feel like insurance is for people who can't pay for funeral expenses, stuff like that. So I don't know if wealthy people tend to not have life insurance. I always thought they did, but that might be me just looking at like soap operas or something. But y'all keep me honest in the chat.
Surrender to
it's a hot
police
redneck
today
mess.
in Hampton County.
It's a redneck
the
mess.
Alleged shooter also faces charges. Police say he shot Murdaugh, but only injured him. Murdaugh went to the hospital shortly afterward.
And then y'all, so it said he shot him, right? Remember when that news broke? Right? Or was it over Labor Day weekend? I ain't see no when he came in. I ain't see no signs of.
He is being charged with insurance fraud following a scheme where he tried to hire a man to kill him.
Where was he shot? Where was he grazed?
Police say it was all so that his son could collect a $10 million life insurance policy.
Is there a wound?
Murdaugh surrendered to police today in Hampton County. The alleged shooter also faces charges. Police say he shot Murdaugh, but only injured him. Murdaugh went to the hospital shortly afterward. This incident coming on the heels of his wife and another son being gunned down at the family's home. Those murders are also still under investigation.
It's weird. Like, I didn't know. Justin says, I hope this man who allegedly shot Alex. Oh, he is being framed. I think that's what it looked like. Like, I mean, let me stop saying it with all certainty. But that's what it looks like to me. So here's our local coverage. I think, is it our local coverage? Yeah, ABC News 4.
Well, this morning, there are more new details about the former attorney Alex Murdaugh and the plot to have himself killed. His attorney says Murdaugh plans to turn himself in today. Murdaugh's bond hearing is set for this afternoon in Hampton County.
Yeah, but before that.
Side note, local news, we got to get the graphics in the back better than this. This looks blurry, out of focus. Looks very 1980, good morning. We got to work on that. This is not giving me confidence, and I'm sorry. I look at little things like that.
There is another bond hearing, this one for the man authorities say Murdaugh asked to kill him. Or Amy Russo is live right now outside.
Evelyn, okay, somebody yesterday said, I think, Joni, I don't know if you're watching or listening. Didn't you say that was his cousin? Who said that was his cousin and former client?
That Hampton County courtroom. Amy, you were the first one there today in what is becoming a very media exclusive event. So what can we expect from that courtroom?
Well, hey there. Good morning, Brody and Leah. So according to SLED, Alex Murdaugh actually asked 61-year-old Curtis Edward Smith to kill him. That's so that Murdaugh's son could cash in on his $10 million life insurance policy. Now, Smith, he is expected to appear in bond court today. This stemming from those charges of the assisted attempted suicide. Yesterday, Smith was released on bond in Culleton County on drug charges. He was then taken to Hampton County Jail, and we found out that Smith was once actually represented by Murdaugh's law firm.
Okay.
It was in a personal injury case back in 2007.
So not a cousin.
Murdaugh has resigned from the law firm. It happened just 2 days after the failed suicide plot. And as mentioned earlier, Murdaugh will also turn himself in today. That has been confirmed by his attorney, Jim Griffin. SLED currently has warrants for his arrest. Murdaugh is expected to appear in bond court in Hampton County at 4 this afternoon. And of course, we will be continuing to cover this developing story all throughout the day. We'll have crews in both courtrooms, both this morning and this afternoon.
Okay. So, and that was from last, I guess, yesterday evening. It's gotten national coverage, of course. That's what I wanted to do. I already showed, yeah. That's what I wanted to do, is play this morning, if I can. This morning's part of the opening package from CBS Morning. I changed it, right? I don't know. Somebody yesterday in the chat said it was a cousin. I know I got the maid's ethnicity wrong or race wrong yesterday, so I thought maybe y'all were correcting me. But I thought there was some sort of familial tie. But outside of just the hey, they represented him. I wanted to play these first, the opening package, if possible. If possible.
You get both.
Because it deals with COVID, but then it hops into the Murdaugh part. Let me see. Hold on. I don't know if I want to watch. There was I think a pediatric. No, my Giants losing. God damn it. I want to see that. Hold on 1 second, y'all. But there was something that I felt was really...
That he talked to the crew, all is well, so far so good. They're due back on Saturday. So.
And that's why Gail King's not going to space.
No, Gail's never going, but I'm really happy for them that do. We welcome you to CBS Mornings. We're going to begin with this. There may be some movement today on the availability.
Shit. Oh, it pauses.
Of COVID booster shots for Americans. An FDA advisory committee plans to vote today on whether Pfizer's booster shot is safe and whether it's effective. Now, most experts believe the new doses are in fact safe, but there is some disagreement over whether they're necessary for all Americans.
This is what I want to do. So what I want to do, it wasn't vaccines. What I want to do now, so we talked about Murdaugh. There's gonna be a Murdaugh story that was included in the first like 10 minutes or so of, or not 10 minutes, but the first few segments of CBS This Morning dealing with the Murdaugh thing. I wanted to kind of get that coverage, that national lens, but also talks about what I mentioned in the subject line of this morning's newsletter, that we need to practice cautious vigilance in and around the organizing with what's going on in DC and local groups who are also trying to either kind of emulate some of that movement, kind of recreate January 6th. They say it's going to be peaceful and all that other stuff. They whatever, but the chatter online and some of these groups have intimated otherwise. Trump said don't go, it's a setup. Other people close to Trump said don't go, it's a setup. But the rally that's taking place this weekend in DC is being led by a former Trump operative. It's mixed messaging, but I think the takeaway that I'm trying to the takeaway that I pull from it is that we need to just watch these groups and seeing if they're going to try to emulate what's going on in DC and in other southern cities. And there's a clip from WCNC Charlotte regarding the organizing efforts that's happening locally that's in support of the rally, the J6 rally that's taking place in DC.
I think has been a terrific public health leader for
up again around the U.S. Capitol, and the National Guard is on standby. Tomorrow's rally is in support of the people accused of assaulting the Capitol on January 6th.
Good morning, Joy.
Chris Van Cleve is on Capitol Hill. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. Even if this is all just an abundance of caution, this will be the biggest test of security in the D.C. area since January 6th. You can see the fences up around the Capitol. If you look up here, you're going to see a brand new high-tech HD camera system on loan from the Army. And as the day goes on, the police presence, the visible police presence around the Capitol is only going to ramp up. That's because there's some chatter that has police concerned not only about tomorrow, but also about later today. Local and federal police are on high alert this morning across Washington, D.C. An estimated 700 far-right demonstrators are expected to gather outside the Capitol Saturday in a rally to support those who rioted on January 6th. According to an intelligence bulletin obtained by CBS News, the Department of Homeland Security is aware of a small number of recent online threats of violence connected to the rally and found online discussions encouraging violence the day before. According to the bulletin, social media users discussed storming the Capitol the night before the rally.
It's crazy.
And other references to violence included using the rally to target Jewish institutions, elected officials, and liberal churches.
That's so crazy.
But rally organizer
Black
Matt
churches.
Brainard, a former Trump campaign staffer, says the event will be peaceful.
The Capitol Police know that we are no threat. This is a theater to deter people from attending.
His group, Look Ahead America.
And see, I think too, like I said earlier on, like there is probably a tendency for a lot of people to say, "Oh, just ignore it. Trump's not going." Someone earlier said that Proud Boys said they weren't going. I've seen similar messaging as well. But I think you have to take this very seriously, and you also have to look at how they are branding themselves and how they are portraying themselves as being peaceful. They're using a lot of they're as you've seen with the local school board movement work that they've been involved in. They've been lifting up more female voices, of course, and also more homosexual voices, like like they want to use identity politics. Again, they take a lot from the left. Whatever they demonize, they remind me of 50 Cent. Remember how 50 Cent essentially ended Ja Rule's career by calling him a wankster and say, "Oh, you just a singing rapper, you sing," and then 50 Cent went off and started singing in all his raps. I know that's real weird, but real hip hop fans know what I'm talking about. But like, that's exactly what they're taking. They're adopting a lot of language and maneuvering that they saw starting when Trump ran for president, became the Republican nominee, all the way up until present day. So they're taking a lot of from the left, and I think it's worth pointing out how they organize, the voices they're lifting up, the women that they're using and pushing to the fore. That's really important to see, and we'll see that again with the WCNC clip. Women are taking a more active and prominent role in a lot of this organizing, and I think that they come off as credible. They come off as just regular white collar white men who have a certain, they definitely have a racial grievance, some inane racial grievance, but they're trying to position it as some sort of valid political objection.
America alleges the more than 600 people
CPAC.
facing criminal charges for the January 6th insurrection have been singled out for their political views. Former President Trump, who is not expected to attend, said in a statement the people arrested in connection with January 6th are being persecuted unfairly.
It was a magic wand.
You certainly can't ignore any chatter.
Thomas O'Connor was an FBI agent for 23 years on the Joint Terrorism Task Force. He says law enforcement must over-prepare.
What I'm most worried about and still worry about is the threat that we do not know about. That's the threat that's going to get by.
The rally organizers have similar protests planned at state capitals across the country this weekend and next weekend. Several congressional offices have encouraged their staff to work from home today. Gail?
All right, got it, Chris. Thank you. There's a new crisis on our southern border where officials are already apprehending what may be the largest number of migrants we've seen in 2 decades.
Apprehending migrants. I will say that I've been following the immigration issue at the border, primarily because, not primarily because of, but given how the right has used it against Joe Biden, people like Nancy Mace, Lindsey Graham, and so on. But I will probably talk about it at length when I have more information, especially if it's coming out of local lawmakers' mouths and it's being used as a talking point. But what I did see yesterday and this morning is so disturbing. There's an influx of folks just seeking asylum, seeking a better way. It's a complicated issue. The United States is notorious for causing disruption in these places. Some of these people are climate refugees, right? So many people are just trying to flee violence and whatnot. And it's very complicated. And I want to, when I have a chance, give it more time and just more care and concern. I won't be able to cover it this morning, though.
30,000 Haitian citizens have arrived at the southern border.
30,000.
It's part of a massive migrant surge, including
Alex Murdaugh was charged yesterday with conspiracy.
October.
I'm not trying
and
to.
that is more than the previous 2 fiscal years combined.
To South Carolina, where a prominent lawyer accused of plotting what was meant to be his own death is back in drug rehab after a court appearance. Alex Murdaugh was charged yesterday with conspiracy to commit insurance fraud and filing a false police report. It's just the latest twist in a bizarre and tragic story that started back in June when Murdaugh's wife and son were found dead at the family's home. Those killings remain unsolved. Nikki Batiste is following this case for us in Hampton County, South Carolina, that is west of Charleston. Nikki, new twists and turns every day.
They keep
Good
bringing
morning.
Charleston in there.
Good morning. Lots of twists and turns. The Murdaugh family is known for its public service in law. 4 generations of the family have served as South Carolina's state solicitors. In this building is the courtroom where Alex Murdaugh has represented hundreds of clients over the years as a prominent lawyer. But yesterday, he found himself here in handcuffs. Calmly and quietly, Alex Murdaugh walked into court masked and shackled Thursday afternoon. Murdaugh briefly broke down as his lawyer spoke about the murders of his wife and younger son. The 53-year-old admitted to attempting to orchestrate his own suicide days after his family's legendary law firm accused him of stealing money.
You saw that, y'all? Y'all saw him pat that guy on the hand? I'm not going to rewind it because it's kind of weird with YouTube TV. But no wound. Again, I asked the question, D. Thank you for asking it again. No wound is visible. He's patting the guy on the hand. I'm sure he knows all this personnel here. It really makes me think, and Evelyn, you're probably good at pulling apart things in a rational way. I jump to conclusions. I'm the Simone Biles of jumping to conclusions. I got gold medals. I could do all kinds of somersaults as I jumped to conclusions. But like, part of me thinks, and keep me honest, part of me thinks that this is all part of a bigger game that we just don't understand, like optically, because there's no wound. Like, I don't know. I mean, real people are getting arrested and going to real jail, right? These are real charges, but this feels so bizarre to me. I don't know.
Prosecutors say Murdaugh hired 61-year-old Curtis Smith to shoot him in the head with the hopes of leaving a $10 million insurance windfall to his surviving son. When the alleged plot failed, Murdaugh told police he was shot while changing a flat tire on his Mercedes.
Why would you have to do that for your son?
He then entered himself into rehab for opioid addiction. Murdaugh's arrest is the latest incident involving the prominent Low Country family. In June, Murdaugh's wife Maggie, along with their 22-year-old son Paul, were shot and killed at the couple's sprawling property outside Charleston. That investigation is ongoing. Dick Harpootlian represents Murdaugh. Did Maggie and Paul Murdaugh have life insurance policies?
They didn't have any insurance.
They did not have life insurance?
They had no insurance. Okay.
Then there's the 2018 death of a family housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield. Satterfield's family says the Murdaughs never paid them more than $500,000 owed in a death settlement. And earlier this week, South Carolina authorities announced an investigation into her death.
It's just something that I would never have thought possible.
Former South Carolina Attorney General Charlie Condon doesn't know Alex Murdaugh personally, but has known the family for 40 years.
What kind of uphill battle does Alex face?
He has stolen large sums of money from the law firm, and some of that money does belong to clients. You're looking then at really serious felony charges.
Alex Murdaugh's lawyer confirmed his client did steal money from the Murdaugh family law firm. The judge here did not require Murdaugh to post his $20,000 bond with the acknowledgement he would show up at future court dates, which enabled him to go back to his out-of-state drug rehab. He's due back in court October 25th. Nate?
Yeah, that's weird. It's just weird. I wanted to, again, play that because it featured local news and also news about the whole rally planned for this weekend. I wanted to hop over to the the WCNC coverage about the planned rally. I think. Oh, first before we do that, no, let's do it. Let's do it first, and then we'll get.
And right now at 6, could it be a repeat of the Capitol riots on January 6th, but this time in Charlotte? Good evening, I'm Brian Blakely.
And good evening, I'm Alicia Barnes. Well,
so fact, I didn't even know that they were planning like little like. Like women's march, like there was the National Women's March that would take place at like in DC or Nevada, and then you could do your own marches or whatever if you could organize your own marches locally. I didn't know that was a component of this type of this effort. So when I saw that Charlotte had a rally planned, I'm like, oh shit. And this is where I want us to practice that cautious vigilance. Is like, okay, well, does that mean there's something planned here? I know there've already been rallies and things planned in Columbia previously that weren't really well attended, even though they say they were. They really didn't even make too much noise or news. But it just, again, wanted to just, also we want to see whether or not, and a lot of y'all did a great job of noticing neighbors or people you know or chatter you've heard during the January 6th insurrection. And so, I don't know, just something I think we should watch and track and see whether or not these local unmaskers and Proud Boy fans see whether or not they are going to be a part of this effort.
Queen City is one of several major cities across the country where groups are planning to rally this Saturday. This is a live look here at the Capitol building now, where Capitol Police are reinstalling a perimeter fencing months after bringing it all down.
I hear you, Denise.
Fox 46's Morgan Francis is live at the federal courthouse in Uptown, where the Justice for J6 rally will happen this weekend.
And Morgan, you spoke with the organizer about the plans for the event. What do they
have
to say?
His mic is not on.
Well, they say that they plan for this to be a peaceful event, but again, some question whether the one in D.C. or other local events will spiral out of control, like the one did on January 6th.
So this is what I'm talking about. So look how they use weapons. Excuse me. Well, they use weapons, but look how they are making sure that women take a more prominent role. Again, we've seen this so many different iterations of this time and time again. With the Daughters of the Confederacy, shoot, I'm watching a lot of the Bill Clinton impeachment proceedings, watching documentaries. I see how they had the Republican conservative feminists lift up Paula Jones and whatnot, make it a feminist issue. These people on the far right and the right, and these white nationalists who are not on the right, they're just terrorists. They're not political parties. These folks know the power of using women to soften their image and to make it seem like it's not as bad, right? Take the harshness away. Whatever.
And they say that this event here locally in the Queen City will be
really,
safe.
Anna Marks?
In the meantime, CMPD is on standby. Most would describe January 6th as a dark day in U.S. history.
Oh, pause one more time. Anna Marks, there's one planned this weekend? Noted, for real, noted.
The Capitol attack resulted in 5 deaths and more than 100 injured. Erin LaCroix saw things differently.
I saw a mostly peaceful crowd.
Oh, she's
gathered across DC in support of exercising their First Amendment right.
LaCroix is a state volunteer coordinator for Look Ahead America. The organization, started by former President Trump's staffer, Matt Braynard, is holding Justice for J6 rallies at state capitals and other cities around the country. One will take place in the Queen City.
This is a gigantic dragnet. It seems to be politically motivated. They're just arresting people who were nonviolent.
The plan organizers say is to peacefully protest against the treatment of those arrested for their involvement that day. They claim they're political prisoners who have been targeted by the Department of Justice and FBI.
She doesn't believe what she's saying, Charlie. Charlie, she doesn't believe it.
We're not scary. We just...
And not only that, I'm just gonna have to say, this is a fine reporter. She's all right. She's doing her job. She's trying to make sure that she can get whatever she can get. But you gotta push back. You gotta push back respectfully and say, you gotta push back like, there have been X amount of people from North Carolina caught on video. You have to push back. You have to push back and ask follow-up questions, because you could tell she's apprehensive or she's kind of uncertain. there's a part of being a reporter where you have to be a little bit more assertive in trying to get at the root of what the real story is. The real story is not just putting a mic in front of the white nationalist face and having them just regurgitate the talking points in the script that they've been handed, right? That's not the story. The story is what's really behind, what is the motivation, what is the agenda behind these local organizing groups. That's what you need to do as a reporter, not just listen and give a microphone to a white nationalist. And like our media, and this is in Charlotte, but I'm speaking in a general sense, our media's lack of willingness to question and to ask follow-up. Shout out to Fernando, who was shut down recently by the mayor, and Mike Wack for trying to ask follow-up questions about something. So you have to be able to get into that practice. And when it's just Fernando, and I'm not even a reporter or a journalist, Fernando is, but when it's just Fernando and I just kind of digging and poking and peeling back things, we seem like radicals and it's out of the ordinary. But any reporter worth their salt will ask a follow-up question, especially when you see someone like this kind of backpedaling and they're on their heels. They don't have any equilibrium. They're off balance. That's your time to go in and get to the heart of the story. Come prepared with the stats and facts from your state or your area, your city, and ask her, pepper her with that. You know, Jared's, I use a real person's name. John Doe was seen right here. Here's a photograph of them inside the Capitol, standing over a cop. Like, just use some type of proof. Ask her to refute that. And so to me, what the media has been doing here and everywhere, like, not everywhere, but in a lot of places, the media just keeps both siding. This is not a side. This is not a side. This is not a political party or a political point of view. This is terrorism masquerading as some sort of like civic issue or civic engagement exercise.
That these fellow Americans should have a voice.
Oh, word?
Those charged in connection to the insurrection include Cherville man Grayson Sherrill, Bradley Bennett from Randolph County, Elias Irizarry of Rock Hill, and Elliot Bashai of Fort Mill. All are accused of breaking federal laws on Capitol grounds.
Did she ask her about it?
Saturday's rally will take place at the U.S. Courthouse on West Trade Street. CMPD said it can't discuss specific means and methods of crowd management, but added the department is aware of the event.
They too busy
and will
organizing
commit
with
the appropriate
Chick-fil-A.
resources should they become necessary.
It's a picket, really. It's just a few of us.
So we reached out to the DOJ for comment, but they declined to comment on this story. We also reached out to the attorneys representing some of those from North Carolina who faced charges for the January 6th attack, but we have not heard back. And Brian, Alicia, while not everyone in the crowd on January 6th was violent, there are still some pretty serious charges here.
Certainly are. Morgan Francis live for us
Thank
tonight.
you, Joy.
One of the men accused of storming the Capitol is Huntersville resident Brad Bennett. He received felony charges stemming from the Capitol riots, but is now free to roam around without his ankle monitor. Despite the FBI accusing Bennett of evading arrest for 20 days, a federal judge granted Bennett's request to remove his ankle monitor.
And that's the thing. Like, that just further proves that law enforcement is complicit. Law enforcement is complicit. How is he able to how is Corey?
A CBS News investigation reveals a frightening tactic.
Sorry about that autoplay.
Yeah, right now it's 6.
But like, how are you able to just like roam around without any consequences after you evaded them for 20 days and you participated in a riot? I don't understand this. I think this is the Joy-Ann Reid clip I queued up because I wanted to make Kia smile about this effort. I think this is from like let me see. Yeah, I think it's from like a week ago. No. My bad. Okay, so Charlotte's rally is taking place today. My bad, y'all. Hold on. And then tomorrow is the big one. Let me see where. Here we go. I think this is it. Yeah.
Today is the deadline for more than 30 social media and telecom companies to respond to the Select Committee's request to preserve phone records and other materials related to January 6th. And as we've learned this month, one of the 12 known targets of those requests is the feckless minority leader of the House GOP. That would be Lil Kevin McCarthy. Despite being in touch with Donald Trump during the insurrection, Lil Kevin made the dubious statement last week that he doesn't have anything to add to the investigation. And he falsely claimed that Trump had nothing to do with the mob that Trump summoned to Washington to, quote, stop the steal that day.
There's nothing I have that can add to that day. Why
Isn't there another question?
FBI?
Another question that the Democrats want to know is how deeply was the president involved?
Well, you know what's interesting about that? That's where law enforcement goes.
Right.
The FBI has investigated this. The Senate had bipartisan committees and come back. And you know what they have found? That there's no involvement.
Nope. Of course, neither the FBI nor the Senate reached any such conclusion. Meanwhile, law enforcement is preparing for the so-called Justice for J6 rally on September 18th. That's a protest in support of the jailed insurrectionists who attempted to overthrow our government. That rally is being organized by a former Trump campaign official. And while the permit for the event claims that only 700 participants are expected to attend, nobody really knows how many might turn up, nor how.
I used to play that game, too. I had to get insurance for the Burbank Park rally with 4,000 people. I had to play that game, too. Oh, it's not a rally. Oh, it's just, we're listening to music. No, we're not selling liquor. Say what you gotta say.
Deranged they might be. Here's how Speaker Nancy Pelosi bluntly described them yesterday.
Now these people are coming back to praise the people who were out to kill.
Law enforcement is now planning to reinstall the protective fencing around the Capitol, and roll call reports that according to police intelligence, there's been an uptick in violent talk about the rally online. Extremists have discussed committing violent acts against local Jewish centers and liberal churches while law enforcement is distracted. And one user said, quote, "I will be there with my AR-15, even though legally I can't have one." Notably, many Republicans who've been outspoken in their defense of the insurrectionists are not planning to attend, including sedition cheerleaders Margie Q. Green and Madison Cawthorn. According to roll call, Louis Gohmert and Lauren Boebert will also be sitting this one out. With me now, Glenn Kirshner, former federal prosecutor, and Kurt Bardella, advisor for the DCCC. And Glenn, I have to wonder if maybe the decisions they're making might be the first sign of intelligent life that we've seen in the GOP caucus. Here's Jim Jordan last week fudging on whether he'd be there.
Are you going to be there on September 18th?
On September 18th. Is there a rally coming?
There's going to be another rally.
Oh, really?
So there's a big rally in D.C. for all the people that they're holding right now.
Well,
and not people necessarily attack officers, but like,
get in on the 19th.
And likewise, Madison Cawthorn, Glenn, was last week threatening to bust those guys out, thinking or ruminating about how they could bust them out of prison. Do you think this might be a sign that they're worried about their legal situation?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, Joy, I think this protest, this rally, whatever you.
Let me tell you why I chose to play this clip real quick. Because this dude right here, what's his name? He says something that you rarely hear on corporate media. I mean, you heard the whole, if they were Black Lives Matter, you heard that argument. But he makes a certain observation about the law enforcement response during the January 6th that not enough people, I didn't know about certain details that he lifted up. And that's why I chose to play this clip this morning. Y'all know how I feel about MSNBC here and there. But this is important to hear and see some of those, also to get on record, or to see rather, who has officially come out and said that they would not participate. Trump has said that he wouldn't participate, and you saw the other usual suspects as well. But listen to this interview.
Want to call it will probably fizzle, but if it doesn't,
and then we're going to switch to Corey.
What I am confident of is Joe Biden's administration will make sure that the Capitol is protected. There will be enough federal law enforcement forces deployed to protect whatever the threat is to the Capitol as a result of this new little protest that they're trying to gin up. Of course, it may fizzle in part because Donald Trump has lost all of his platforms, so he can't gin up the kind of hateful support that he's used to ginning up. But I'll tell you, when you look at what happened on January 6th, it sure looked like the executive branch, Donald Trump's executive branch, deprived the Capitol of the forces it needed to repel the attack that was orchestrated and launched by Donald Trump himself. That stood in stark comparison to the BLM protests, which I attended. And there was every law enforcement agency known to man and some unknown to man because they weren't even wearing proper insignia. For goodness sakes, the Bureau of Prisons riot squad was there, and I've never seen that unit deployed outside of Bureau of Prisons riot. So listen, let them bring their 700 people or however many show up. Joe Biden's administration will be well prepared.
So to just hear that they deployed all of these other law enforcement or correctional facilities, I don't even understand that. But see, that again, when we talk about police, when we talk about law enforcement, we talk about mass incarceration, when we talk about the carceral system in general, this is where like they lose credibility because they pick and choose spots. And when they show up, so when Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds partners with Mount Pleasant and brings a tank down the street to threaten young girls in yoga pants and crop tops, threaten them with gassing and with gratuitous use of force, violent use of force, you respond to the will of the people, peaceful protests with all of this militarized law enforcement, all these things, all these gadgets and toys and weapons and vehicles. But when it comes to insurrection, y'all stood the fuck down. Y'all and yeah, there were some cops out there who really were not with the whole program, but there were a lot of those motherfuckers out there who turned their head, who knew what was up, who got the communication from the FBI about the caravan coming from South Carolina, like coming from places, not just South Carolina, but other places, right? We saw that. You stood down. And that shows you that police know how and when they want to, they de-escalate when they want to. They stand down when they want to. But when it's a cause that centers Black lives, George Floyd protests here in Charleston, all that stuff, you come and you bring all this, all this force. It doesn't make any sense at all. So also wanted to play this from BNC News, the hypocrisy of anti-protest laws. I wanted to play this even though this is recent, but as we practice cautious vigilance and watch this faction, shout out to Honor Marks, always in the know about what's happening. I did go on the Overton Report's YouTube page this morning. I don't go on their other websites and stuff, but I went on the YouTube page to see if there was any type of rally plan, usually because they can't resist, right? So before I get to the insurrectionist thing, let me go to that clip real quick. Before I get back to like the national response to the Capitol security increasing ahead of the rally, and we're going to watch more clips from that. Let's go to the Overton Report's page. Did I see his face pop up earlier? Hold on. Because one thing I noticed about both Corey and Tyler Bear Spray Bessinger, right? One thing I noticed about them, they can't resist the limelight. They can't resist. They can't. And then like, okay, so this right here, and y'all know I don't play this with any type of enthusiasm. I do not want to give this brother the clicks. Excuse me, I don't want to give this animal the clicks. He is not human. Yeah, I'll dehumanize him. So look at the caption here. This is an old video from June 7th, 2021. Look at the caption here. If you can, let me see if you can make it a little larger. All right, so this Overton Report's YouTube page. So just in case all these quote armchair patriots and dinner party conservatives forgot what it is and what's supposed to be. So basically, and this is titled Overton Boots on the Ground, right?
So we're walking up on
he already implicated himself. He posted this many times before, but basically posted him in DC when everything went down. He's trying to prove to these very ultra violent organizers, ultra violent white nationalists. He's trying to prove actively and always continually trying to prove that he's just as vicious and violent as the people he's trying to emulate.
Plaza.
So this is him there, right? Literally don't need to watch the whole thing. I wanted to get to the part where, and this is him trying to harass BLM protesters in Charleston. And like he's trying to act like he actually did anything to disrupt them. And then this is him. He can't help it. Him and Tyler can't help but place themselves at the Capitol as he and his colleagues, he and his friends, he and his fellow white nationalists, white supremacists, hate mongers are committing felonies.
They've broken the fence.
He is an idiot.
We're on the property of the
So
Congress.
he has to show you.
And we're just following it up.
Right?
He's
not original.
The Capitol building.
He's not original.
And a large group
He can't think independently.
has come on
Mob
to the property.
think, mob
They're just
rule.
climbing over in droves.
He can't do anything on his own. He can't gin this up in Charleston. He tried, almost was effective. In some ways, you can say he was successful when he brought the Proud Boys here and got Harry Griffin to organize with him multiple times. But he can't help but put himself in that. Right? And the reason why I'm showing this is because it's him filming himself committing a crime, right? He's placing himself at the scene of the crime, right? I don't know, right? That guy. I don't know. He was trying to get it, right, D?
Storming the Capitol.
And he just said it. He just said storming the Capitol to the camera. The reason why I'm playing this, and I don't have to watch anymore. The reason why I played it is because you best believe, even though Trump is saying, "Oh, I don't know, guys. I don't know. This is a setup." What Trump say right here? Trump calls the upcoming Justice for J6 a setup. Even though they all signal like this publicly, you know he can't resist being a part of this action or being a part of anything that's any way, shape, or form reminiscent to what took place on January 6th, right? And so even though, like I said, these are just some clippings, this is Salon.com, CNBC, USA Today, Politico, CNN, all have reported they saying that that hey, they may not, we're not going, it's a setup, whatnot. Let me get back to out that video and back to BNC coverage. There's some black news up in here. Coverage of that rally. He can't resist. And to Honor Mark's point that she lifted up, they're probably going to reframe the rally to kind of throw people off and call it like medical freedom and whatnot, and kind of continue the momentum he's gotten from the women who have joined him in these anti-mask, anti-vax groups. Right? Let me make sure this is. All right. So I wanted to play this first.
We're looking at live pictures of our U.S. Capitol. We're starting to see security plans go into effect ahead of that far-right rally, which is supposed to take place in our nation's capital this weekend.
He wants to be hard.
Saw that rally,
he ain't
the J6
hard,
rally. It's supposed to show support for those
pride,
who
D.
stormed the U.S. Capitol in January. Yeah, you heard me right. Crews are working to make sure the building is surrounded
Honor, you
by
hadn't
fencing
seen that
to prevent
footage?
another
Me neither
violent
till this
breach.
morning.
Concrete barriers and fencing are all expected to be in place by the end of the day.
They ain't getting nowhere.
Several streets in the area will be closed in part.
That's one thing that I'm really confident. They ain't getting nowhere near that motherfucking Capitol. They ain't getting nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. But I think I think it'd be foolish to underestimate them and their impact, both locally and at the Capitol. But they ain't getting nowhere. They're not gonna be able to replicate anything, similar to what happened January 6th. Who would have thought? Like seriously, in a million years, I never would have thought. While I never underestimated Trump, I never would have thought a sitting president would say, "Let's walk down to the Capitol and let's storm the Capitol." I never thought that I would see that. And so, that to me was, I think if anyone would have put money on that, no one would have bet on, well, not no one, but it was highly unlikely. So that being said, I guess what I'm trying to say is that all those, the perfect storm, the perfect shit storm had to occur for that thing that happened. And of course, law enforcement's complicity, inside job shit. But if they get anywhere inside this barrier, this concrete, that's a complete inside job. Complete inside job if they get close to anything.
Will also be restricted. U.S. Capitol Police have requested National Guard assistance ahead of that far-right rally, again in support of the insurrectionist who stormed our Capitol.
Yeah, let's hang
No
Pence.
details on how many National Guard members will be deployed, but an emergency declaration has been issued to let outside law enforcement be deputized as special Capitol police officers. So if you are traveling this weekend, you definitely want to give yourself some extra time. The TSA will have more officers and more canines on standby. The agency says it will be keeping a close watch and will, quote, be positioned to deploy. That's if any tensions happen in our nation's capital. So joining me to talk about this further is Remington Belford. He is one of the 370 Hill staffers who wrote a letter to impeach President Trump. Remington, first off, thank you for joining us, sir. I can't imagine what it must be like to think about what happened that dreadful day. If you can just walk us
I'm going to go to another clip. I'm going to go to Charles Blow also from BNC News. Yeah, this was posted today. Probably aired last night.
Good evening, Black people and all allies fighting for Black liberation, Black prosperity, and Black joy. I'm Charles Blow, and welcome to Prime. Law enforcement is on high alert, and D.C. police say that they will be all hands on deck as protective fencing around the Capitol was reinstalled ahead of a Justice for J6 protest.
I know, what a great open.
Saturday. The worry is that this could be a sequel to the January 6th riot, like an insurrections attack the Capitol's Part 2. But instead of questioning the safety and necessity of protests like that, you have governors like Florida's Ron DeSantis with his new anti-protest law more obsessed with criminalizing Black joy. Chief U.S. District Judge Mark Walker
yes, I'm drawing a direct comparison between the recent action from our local city council and movement like this. The having a special session where Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds can come and can basically fabricate a story about his police force facing violence from Black protesters downtown, using someone's legally carried, using someone's, someone who is armed legally, using that fact to illustrate there was an urgent need to crack down on people's First Amendment right to protest, specifically on the peninsula, because they're not outside of the Mellow Mushroom and Avondale worrying about protests there. They're not cracking down like that. I'm sure they wouldn't even give a fuck if 25 people or more showed up outside of the Triangle Char and Bar in West Ashley. It's specifically around that King and Calhoun, the crown jewel of tourism. But again, the reason why this is important to show this, as we watch what happens, cautiously watch what happened here locally, Columbia, or in our neighboring state of North Carolina or Georgia, we need to make sure that we kind of watch this and understand politically what's also I guess brewing with other lawmakers, because Charleston will copy and paste what they see from other regressive states and from the minds of regressive lawmakers like DeSantis.
Tallahassee recently ruled against the governor, saying he was wrong to equate community celebration of Juneteenth with that of a protest.
I know.
And for that, the judge has temporarily blocked DeSantis' sweeping anti-protest measure, which was signed into law in April. But his state is not the only one to enact anti-protest laws since last summer, which are, by the way, mostly aimed at Black people. According to the International Center for Not-for-Profit Law, which tracks anti-protest laws, 20 states have enacted such measures since 2017.
And Charleston,
many of those governors have not been vocal about Saturday's protests, which, according to the Department of Homeland Security, could have up to 700 people. So where's the anti-protest outrage for that?
Yeah.
Joining me now to discuss is co-founder of the LA chapter of Black Lives Matter, Dr. Melina Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah, why is it so profoundly problematic to criminalize peaceful protest?
So where do we start? Where do we start? It's really, really important to remember that this is not just a criminalization of protest. We have a right to protest. The First Amendment protects our right to protest. But DeSantis's bill actually is targeting particular protests, particularly Black protests. It's targeting protests like...
Because what he didn't do, he didn't say anything when the Cuban communities came out in support and solidarity with their family and their extended community in Cuba. But when the Cuban residents took to the streets to protest and to stand in solidarity with the folks over in Cuba, nothing, crickets, nothing. But when it's BLM, you got to bring out this whole force. And like we heard that other gentleman with the Joanne Reed clip, the response is just not equal. The response is just disproportionate, overwhelmingly so. And I thought that was just important to at least play that beginning part. I wanted to just make sure that I stay on I get through all the news that I think is important to cover. I wanted to also, again, I started off, and I had no clue about this story. I started off also trying to, again, wanting us to practice cautious vigilance, not just this weekend, but overall. Look at the trends. Look at the some key characteristics of these white nationalists, the white supremacists who are organizing in plain sight, not even hiding. I think that's the most. I think for me, that's the most jarring thing about living in Charleston, living in South Carolina, living in a red state or this red, because the most jarring thing is that you can be out here organizing with the Proud Boys. You can be out here organizing with Klan-esque or KKK-esque groups. You can be a part of a militia and be out here on the Battery and face no consequences, you literally can be out here a literal hate crime, like proponent of hate crime. You can be out here just doing whatever and nothing happens. Nothing happens in real time. Nothing happens from our legal system. Nothing happens. It's very jarring. But what I was trying, the larger point I was trying to make is that there's certain things that are happening right now that are not new. I always say that there's nothing really new under the sun. But when I find out and learn about, I never knew about this 1974 textbook controversy that took place in Charleston, West Virginia. And so 1A had this skirmish over school boards. It's a really good episode. I encourage you to listen to the whole entire episode, but we're going to, for the interest of time, just go to the last
support for NPR and the following
last 4 minutes. I can get to it's like Price is Right. I'm trying to let me skip. All right, here we go.
Talk to us about this aspect of school boards and not the other work that's being done without controversy.
We're in the middle of a national crisis, a national emergency. So it's not unexpected there's going to be varied opinions on it and some very strong opinions. But what is very troubling is that we are spending so much time debating things like critical race theory, which is something that is not taught in public schools. It is a law school subject, and frankly, not even taught at every law school, but yet it's being labeled as something that's going on in schools all over the nation. They're using it to refer to other things, just social studies classes,
both words were
diversity, equity, inclusion programs, which frankly benefit all students. And so, I mean, that is frustrating that at a time that, we're suffering through this terrible health crisis that's impacting millions of people and certainly students, that we're focusing on these other issues when we should be focusing on those subjects I mentioned earlier, our teacher shortage, recruiting more teachers, students with disabilities, helping with the digital divide in education. Every time we're not talking about those things is a lost opportunity. Mm-hmm. What we really need right now for people that are concerned over what's happening in public schools, whichever side you're on, is go into these meetings with the sense of you may disagree with the school board member or with someone in the audience, but do it agreeably. Like, it be a good reflection of what we want the students' behavior to be like in the future, and be an agent of change. Don't be an agent of chaos.
That's real.
Public schools need positive change right now and positive help.
Adam, when you look at the history of school boards, what's happened there, how they impacted national politics, what are the key lessons you think we should take away from that historical record?
For the past century, school boards and other local political institutions, they've been seen, at least by conservative activists, as a sort of accessible local branch of politics that can be influenced. So, for example, the founder of the John Birch Society famously, when he tried to run for governor, lieutenant governor, he failed. He lost horribly. And then he turned to what he called action, local action. So, okay, maybe we can't become governors and senators, but we can become school board members in Kanawha County and El Paso, or wherever you live, you can get on that school board. And once you've gotten on that school board, you can at least make your community a kind of island, a citadel, a place that that goes against what are perceived to be these national trends in culture.
Citadel's an interesting choice of words. Very apropos, right? And so I clicked on, I just tried to look for a YouTube video about the Kanawha County textbook controversy. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because he just mentioned the John Birch Society, and they mentioned this controversy because it's again eerily reminiscent of what we're seeing take place at our local school board meetings right now. And so again, nothing really is new under the sun, right? And so they referenced it, and I found this article from timeline.com. The Kanawha County Board of Education didn't predict much trouble when it assembled in May of 1974 to discuss a new slate of textbooks. But within months, the West Virginia county was the scene of violent demonstrations, shootings, and even a plot to bomb school buses. Okay. It says it was there and then that middle-class Christians concerned about family values, working-class whites stung by cultural elitism, and an avowed racist inflamed by political correctness first came together. Right? Doesn't that sound like the exact same people who are creating these Facebook groups, who are mobilizing hordes and hordes of white women who really are just using this as a way to advance their anti-black racism, to advance a lot of their, and you might say, well, to me, that's a jump. It's not a jump. Think about what me and Pepe endured from the boutique owning MAGA boat parade having Mount Pleasant women, right? That the same women that were attacking us for calling them out for supporting the son of a Klansman, the same women who were threatening us and all that, they then turned around and became anti-maskers, and they became prominent voices in that community. So like I said, please don't separate the white nationalists and the racial animus at the core of a lot of this movement. They use medical freedom and all these other terms and school boards and education, and we don't want kids to be indoctrinated. Those are all things to mask what's really at the root of it, which is equity. They're anti-equity, they're anti-inclusion, they're anti-advancement of any people of color. And so that's always at the heart of it. It literally got mad at me I literally called one of them a supporter of a son of a Klansman. That got them really incensed because they didn't understand what I was saying. For some reason, some of them didn't know that Trump's daddy was a Klansman. And so they just, how sometimes calling white people racist can get more of a reaction than the actual racism. Sometimes it's just really weird how they didn't like being called followers of a son of a Klansman. I'm like, you literally are doing that. But let's play this clip. I talked a lot. I ain't seen this clip all the way. I think I just played a little bit. I like how she was orating, but I haven't watched it all the way through. It's just 2 minutes long, but I wanted to get a really good synopsis of what took place in Charleston, West Virginia, back in 1974 regarding these textbooks.
Fight Fights over diverse textbooks and curriculum, along with forced integration and busing, led to a boom in private schools and homeschooling in the late 20th century. One fight that was actually violent involved Kanawha County Schools in 1974, West Virginia. In April of that year, a set of books that included black authors like Malcolm X, Langston Hughes, and James Baldwin was presented to the school board for adoption in the language arts program. After looking over the list and disgust, a housewife named Alice Moore rallied the wealthiest moms in town against the list. Moore was especially displeased with Malcolm X's disapproval and critiques of Christianity. According to Joe Kinchelow, Moore argued that the language arts goal of emphasizing the racial, cultural, and philosophical diversity of American society was anti-Christian, anti-American, anti-authority, depressing, and negative. What would ensue would be a long and violent battle to get the books from being adopted.
So real quick, Joy, this is not a victory lap or nothing like that. I hope people don't take this as like me stroking my own ego, but I'm gonna take credit. I'm gonna take credit for if they start doing more, because people have to start talking about the Proud Boys. And I know I'm not the only one, but I'm gonna start taking credit because no one is talking about the whole Proud Boy element within the group. No one is talking about it. I mean, outside of WCIV's one print story where they put it in the copy but didn't say it during the actual piece that aired on the television. Somebody got to start waking up and understanding that they are, some of them, I think some of them don't know. Some of them, but that's their internal white supremacy that they're not even interested in unpacking. So they literally ignore all of the red flags. So that when I tell you that flag is red, is blood red, right? They're ignoring the Confederate flags, the red flags, the Gadsden flags, the Trump flags. They're ignoring all of that, and they're getting all these warnings. But y'all, we got to keep talking about the Proud Boys organized. Do not separate. We've got the video proof. We've seen it with our own eyes. Corey is literally sitting in the facility with these groups. He literally brought the Proud Boys to Charleston. He literally brought the Proud Boys to terrorize a small business in Somerville. We got to keep driving that point home. White people got to do it louder than me and better than me. Y'all got to start bringing that shit up at happy hour. You got to start bringing that shit up at work. I don't give a fuck if you make your job, your employees, your fellow colleagues uncomfortable. You got to, the only way to get this hate out is to start making people feel uncomfortable about this hate. All right? I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot. But we got to start talking about it. The more you keep talking about, hey, you know you organized with a Proud Boy, right? Oh, what do you mean? And they were right there in Shem Creek with them. So ain't no denying it. Right? Joni, you said, Joni, you're saying, remember I said weeks ago, white women with disposable income are menaces. Absolutely. And that's who's really like, their husbands are VPs at these tech firms and whatnot. They got an inordinate amount of time. They've got nannies and housekeepers to take care of their kids in their homes while they out here doing all this foolishness. Joy, you said, okay, and just to kind of continue, Joy, you said, they're trying to distance themselves from the Proud Boys, betting she's getting ready to make a move for school board. And that's the thing too. It's strategic too. The distancing is also, they're going to use that to their advantage. Yep. Keep calling them out, Joy. I know you've been doing your part.
While later generations would claim the incident wasn't racist, a building in the county was painted with the words, "Get the nigger books out." The National Education Association reported in 1975 that teachers have received complaints from parents about illustrations in textbooks depicting a white female student and black male students together. By the time of the next school board meeting in June, over 1,000 angry white parents had assembled. They presented a petition signed by at least 12,000 locals to prohibit books that encourage skepticism in the family unit, which comes from the marriage of a man and a woman, belief in God, the American political system, the free enterprise economic system, and the history of America as the record of one of the noblest civilizations that has existed. The school board agreed to not buy 8 of the books, but decided to adopt the rest. In the months that followed, windows at the School Board of Education were shattered by shotgun blasts, and 10,000 minors walked off the job to protest the dirty books. By September, 2 men were shot, car windows were smashed, news teams were beaten, and vandals inflicted around $300,000 of damage on the schools. Cars were burned, and protesters blocked buses from carrying students to school. In October, the Board of Education building was bombed by the anti-textbook brigade. While the books were eventually adopted, with the most controversial being reserved in school libraries to be checked out with parental permission, the bloody battle to keep them out of classrooms demonstrates how white Americans centered their history and narratives.
That's very important. That was very concise. She just taught me how to make some content cohesive and concise. I'm gonna follow suit. But it's really important that we look at what happened back in 1974 and look at the parallels between what we're seeing here locally. I don't want to ever underestimate the bunch. They are raggedy though. They are raggedy. Corey is not smart. Tyler's not smart. Right? They're just not. That's not even me being taking a low. They're not. They're unintelligent. So we have that on our side. They're not intelligent, nor do they really can't organize that well. It's so funny because I hate to play another Overton Report video, but I'm gonna have to because it made me laugh. This one right here. Can't do that intro again. Is that? I think this is one of those moms. This is from July 18th. That's that woman that was on the bridge in Shem Creek with the Proud Boys. I would never even be look. Oh my God, he just looks like. I'm trying not to be ableist, but if a vicious virus was a person, it'd look like this guy. And look at her happy. And I think some of these women, and okay, this is gonna be a stretch. This is gonna be a little bit of a jump, but track with me. I know for some of these women, having people like the Overton Report use their platforms, use their access to the other white nationalists in other areas and other cities and states, I know some of these women, it's helping them feel important. And it's helping them feel centered and seen. Right, even though this world was built for white womanhood to protect white womanhood's, genteelness and all that other stuff. Right? Yeah, right. There tends like this is why I played it, Joy. This is why I'm playing it. Right? But she just screamed. Women like her scream, "I need more attention. I need to be taken seriously." And it's crazy how they'll run to into the arms of white supremacy before they'll run into the arms of like maybe the local PTA or the local League of Women Voters, which is nonpartisan. It's amazing how they'll organize with a white nationalist who was arrested for breaking and entering into cars to feed his addiction. It's crazy how they'll run to that. And this is where that's why white feminism is so problematic, because it's all about upholding the tenets of white supremacy and not necessarily about equality and solidarity across race lines, class lines, and etc. Right? But they'll run to the arms of a literal terrorist that was at the insurrection. Right? Shout out to the new follower, I hope. And instead of going to the local PTA, local League of Women Voters, local like just being more active with your city council people, right? Doing what I do, holding them accountable, right? That's crazy. How joyful and gleeful she is working with this guy and not a bunch of other people with actual children.
Hey guys, wow. Can I just say,
wow. Hey guys.
Unlike most people here, I wrote a speech because there were things that I knew I'd miss. I tend to get very excited and then just...
Look at this dude, yo.
forget everything, so... But there are well over 100 people here. That is huge. Give yourself...
Did you pan to the audience? Can we see the hundreds of people? A round of a hand.
You have taken the first step in activism.
Shout out Rockwell RF, B-Man. B-Man is my biggest fucking publicist. What's up, Rick? What's up? Welcome to the chat.
By showing up. That is huge.
The word that comes to mind is congenital. This dude just screams congenital. Congenital, you fill in the blank. Like, if you're listening to this dude, you're organizing with this dude, you at a rally, you dressed like you about to go to the beach. You had a rally with supposedly hundreds and hundreds of people, right?
Not underestimate that. As Trish said, my name's Corey Allen.
Well, kid, do you have proof? Are you talking about something for real? Or you just saying that in general? You saying that you got it like are you saying he's been in West Ashley hanging out with Harry for real? Yeah, he ain't wearing Birkenstocks. You know he can't wear Birkenstocks. This is $9.99 sold on a little plastic hook at Target or Walmart or Dollar Store. They ain't Birkenstocks. What?
With the Overton report.
Listen.
Before I get started in my speech, just a little bit about me. About a year ago, we went to a rally, and there was
be fatphobic,
some
kids.
real far left folks over there chucking frozen water bottles, hitting kids in the face, and none of the news would report on it.
Lying.
So about 2 days later, we literally ordered this camera right here, and we started following all the rallies around. Met up with J.T. Bessinger.
Another insurrectionist.
We've been going
another
everywhere
terrorist.
from D.C., Columbia, Greenville, Rock Hill, Charleston, mainly Charleston, doing all sorts of incredible.
Look, I got a COVID-19 gut and a COVID-19 butt, right? I'm good. I'm great. I love myself. I ain't gonna fat shame nobody, but he ain't missing no meals. I will agree. He ain't missing no meals.
Stuff, and we met some really cool people along the way. So I've got a message that I want to I'll just start now. When I take a look around this nation, I'm frightened by some of the things that I see. We have teachers that don't even know when the country was founded, who are convinced that CRT is simply teaching real history. We have politicians who are so certain that there will be no consequences for their actions, they don't think twice about lying to your face, breaking laws, and doing unspeakable things to line their own pockets. They're certain, as am I, and as are most of us here probably, that we have at least 2 different justice systems in this nation right now. For proof of that, take this example. Hundreds of conservatives are sitting in federal jail in solitary confinement with no bond at this very moment in time for protesting at the Capitol. Earlier this week, state representatives from Texas and Ohio went into the same building, did the exact same thing, got the exact same charges, and they're looking at the sunlight right now.
No, they're not. What are you talking about?
So,
he's such a great speaker. Like, I can see why now the moms are following a childless white nationalist terrorist. I can see why they follow him. And he took the YouTube video and he superimposed his logo right here at the bottom. Is that what he did? Because it doesn't move, right? Yeah. He superimposed his logo at the bottom.
With the Overton report.
Such a fucking clown. It's you don't want to ever underestimate them. You can't afford to, because they cause too much real harm. But whoever's organizing with this dude, come on. And kids, did you I don't know. Is he really messing around with Is he really messing around with I don't know if he's really in West Ashley. Let me just pull this up. I'm reluctant to do this. I was kind of reluctant to do this. I'm gonna do it anyway. Think I uploaded it here. I'm so tired of this not being logged in. I know they just want me to change my browser. I'm not going to do it. Let me see. I think I got it here. So this was, I can't remember the day. I had to look at my phone, and I'm about to dip. Yeah, we covered a lot today. Let me download it. We covered a lot today. Again, please practice cautious vigilance. We're going to real quick before I dip. I'm going to get to the Alan Wilson shit real quick too. But I want to play this just to do a dismount from the KKK Corey Allen.
Because I was gonna say, for $15, I think you're like kind of the 2 p.m.
This is when I was. Remember I told you I was outside King Crab, Juicy Seafood and Bar in West Ashley. So oh well, you can't see. Hold on. My bad. Hold up. I don't know why it does that. Y'all. Sorry. Hold up. Why did it do that? Here we go. This is not the mouse. I realize it's this. Voila. Y'all remember when I said I was I know y'all at the King Claw Juicy Seafood and Bar. Oh, you were playing fantasy insurrectionist in your head. Yeah, he probably is hanging out with him though. So yeah, I forgot what again, I had to look at my phone. So I was coming out of Sonic. I was getting me, you know what I mean, a cherry limeade, light ice, and a pretzel twist. Like I was like, what is this car? And I saw this anti-Biden flag, I think. And I said, wait a minute. And I did what I don't want y'all to do.
Snackishness that I encountered.
Roll up.
I'll give you a hint. Like here,
I'm listening to NPR.
Trying to drink water from the other side of the glass.
It cures hiccups?
Yes.
And I'm playing this so you can see the car. So they riding around like those hamsters from the Kia commercial in this white nationalist mobile, right? And in the back here it says fuck the Democrats, and then it makes a slur. It uses the R word slur referencing people with cognitive disabilities. I'm not going to repeat that. It says I'm gay, not the R word. Fuck the Democrats. I'm gay, not the R word. So the Kia Soul can't get more militaristic than that. The Kia Soul is outfitted to antagonize, right? The Kia Soul is outfitted to antagonize and to kind of like to throw you off, right? And this is Tyler. This is Bear Spray Bessinger's car. Because of all the I'm gay. We know Tyler likes to use his identity as a homosexual to confuse people. Like, oh, he can't be a hate monger and gay. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Okay, all right. So they're out. And I don't know why they were at the King Claw Juicy Seafood and Bar. I'm gonna just let you know. Anybody can go there. Everybody goes there, but it's really like all the black people are there. So I don't know why they be there. This don't seem like that's that place where they would relax. There's a lot of black people. Oh shit, I might go there tonight. Like there's a lot of black people who hang out here, right? And it's just like, and I'm literally sitting, y'all, you should see me. I'm literally sipping my limeade. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Because the flag, he has the flag out. It's a short clip, right? It's only 19 seconds.
This device will cure hiccups. You click away.
So I roll up and I give them the fucking finger. I don't just roll up, I roll around them. I drive around them by myself, dolo. So I wanted to see who was in the car. So it's Tyler in the front driver's seat, and that's like a fuck Biden flag. And they love to say that they just would drive. They love to say, oh, we were just driving down Charleston and they threw water. They love saying people throw water bottles at them. I have not seen anyone throw water bottles at them, and ain't nobody carrying around frozen water bottles. I have not seen that in any protests. Anything. I would tell y'all if I would say, you know what, some of our people wasn't disciplined and they were doing things that I didn't agree with. I would tell y'all if there was an action that I was a part of or that I witnessed. And like, so they always lie and say that they were provoked. You literally running around in the provocation vehicle, a vehicle outfitted to provoke people, right? Outside of King Claw Juicy Seafood and Bar in West Ashley.
Is a specially designed plastic straw.
Oh, I drove all the way around them and I made sure I stopped and rolled down the window. And part of the reason was like they need to not get caught like don't get caught tripping. And that's not a threat of violence. I'm just like, people watching, people know you are around here. And not only is it outfitted with all this offensive language and convoluted political assertions and white nationalist jargon, there's a sound system. So when I rolled around, I drove around the entire vehicle, and then I attempted to drive out, they called me a triggered bitch over their PA system. So whenever they say, oh, someone targeted us, I best believe they either stayed in it, and that's how much of a coward, that's how much cowardice. That's how much of I can't even say the word, y'all. They're cowards. How do I know they're cowards? Because they try to outfit the vehicle in a way to where they don't have to get out and physically confront you. They'll just berate you with a loud system. There, I got it. All right. They're cowards. How do I know they're cowards? Because they let the car do all the talking, right? They let the hate mobile do all the talking. Because look, I rolled up. Where all that smoke? I rolled up. Dolo. I dare you to do something to me in public. They're cowards. And I'm not trying to provoke them. I'm just saying, like, that's what they are. They need the Proud Boys. They need the cover of a city councilman, Harry Griffin. They need that to protect them. because they're cowards. We saw Moya dunk on you, Tyler, snatch your fucking flag and your heart at the same time. We saw that. Yeah, we saw that. It don't get more terrifying than a Kia Soul with a bunch of hate speech written all over it. All right, let me dismount. Alan Wilson. Let me see if they. Oh, I still have a subscription. Alan Wilson. 23 others threatened lawsuit over Biden's COVID mandate. Right. This is what Governor McMaster promised us. Let me see.
Spend your life taking care of others. When
Joy, you said they are loud, but they ain't hard. They not hard at all. Yup, at all.
At the firm.
This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And it's caused by the fact that despite America having unprecedented and successful vaccination program, despite
this is what frustration about the state newspaper. You put a clip here and you make it seem like you have a reporter who's giving you the news, right? And it's not.
STAG Alan Wilson, 23 others threaten lawsuit over Biden's COVID mandate vaccine plan. South Carolina's Republican Attorney General Alan Wilson has joined 23 other state attorneys general to warn the Biden administration that if their newly announced vaccine mandate plan takes effect, they will sue. The warning letter, sent Thursday, is aimed at stopping the implementation of a vaccine mandate plan announced by the Biden administration last week.
Okay. I think, well,
it, among other requirements, would require companies with more than 100 employees to ensure workers are vaccinated or tested for COVID-19 each week. In the letter, the attorneys general called the plan was disastrous and counterproductive. They added it represents a threat to individual liberty, and could result in a public health disaster if it drives healthcare workers.
So he's just following the script that McMaster helped the co-author. The same talking points you'll hear from other regressive states, other Republican-held states. And so just wanted to cover that as I get off. All right. All right. No shade to anybody with a Kia Soul. No shade. I think my mama wants one of those. No shade to nobody who drives a Kia Soul, but the way they have theirs, all that aftermarket bullshit and flags and shit is laughable. No shade to anyone who owns a vehicle and just drives it like a human being and doesn't use their Kia Soul to antagonize or to terrorize communities of color. All right, but anyway, that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. That's my Friday. Y'all take it easy. I appreciate the support. Again, I just want to say as I dismount, thank you so much for the support on Patreon this week and in previous weeks. More things are coming. You have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe. Practice cautious vigilance. If you white, you've got privilege. If you got stash, if you got anything you can leverage to help combat white supremacy, I implore you, please make sure you are not passive, that you are active in helping us fight white supremacy. I think a lot of times people think that this is the natural role of a black person to fight white supremacy or to speak truth to power. It's not. It's not safe for people like me. And I'm going to encourage some kind of y'all remember I got put in Facebook jail by just pointing out that Corey organized with the Proud Boys. There's always a consequence to doing what I do and saying what I say. So that's why I need white folks to leverage their whiteness and leverage their privilege to actually combat white supremacy in real time. Also, again, if you want to support this work and help me combat that shit, help me do what I do regularly, always hit me up on Patreon. You see the little chyron in the corner, patreon.com/CHSACTNET. I'm gonna make a jingle one day. All right, y'all take care. Thank you for the newbies. Thank you for the new followers, new subscribers. I appreciate you all. Have a good weekend. Be safe. I'll see you next week. All right, bye.